Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. How are you, ma'am? I hope you will always be in a good and healthy condition. Please allow me to explain that I, Dwita Kartika Aliva, and Ainul Hamdiyah will represent our group, that is Group 6, to present the material about words and phrases. For specific information, all the Group 6 members have already participated and played their roles in group work. Well, without any further ado, please allow me to start the presentation by introducing our member. We have Ainul Hamdiyah and Dwita Kartika Aliva, who will present the material today, and we have Santi Rahayu, Anggun Patma Ayu, and Tiara, Fany, Amanda as the other members of the Group 6. Next, here are the topics we will deliver, covering words and phrase definition, compounds versus phrases, free forms versus bound forms, clitics and affixes, and the last one is lexical integrity. Well, the first material will be words and phrases, and it will be delivered by Ainul. Please take your time, Ainul.
Okay, thank you, Dwita, for the time you given, and I will explain the words and phrases definition. Words can be interpreted as a single unit of language that means something and can be spoken or written. A word works as a symbol to represent or refer to something or someone in language to communicate a specific meaning. Example like love, cricket, and sky. And phrases. Phrases is a small group of words, usually without a finite verb, that together have a particular meaning and that typically form part of a sentence. Example like the wood table and the crispy chips. Then the definition of compounds and phrases is compound word is a word composed of two or more words. Sample like firefly, softball, redhead, keyboard, makeup, notebook, daughter-in-law, over-the-counter, 6-year-old, each with its own definition. And a phrase is a group of words that has a complete meaning but cannot stand alone as a sentence. It can be two or more words. It's example like rose garden, a garden of roses. Then how to distinguish when compounds are quite similar to phrases with a similar meaning. In semantic, phrases is dependent noun may be referential, head may be replaced by an anaphoric pronoun. And semantic in compounds and compounds in semantic depend on virtually always generic, head may not be replaced by an anaphoric and pronouns. Phrases in phonological is less cohesion, but compounds in phonological greater cohesion. Sample like compound as domain of stress assignment, vowel harmony. Phrases in morphological is no cohesion, but compound is greater cohesion in morphological. Sample compound as domain of affixation. Phrases in syntactic is parable, dependent noun, expandable, coordination ellipsis, and possible. The compounds in syntactic is inseparable, dependent noun, not expandable, coordination ellipsis, and impossible. And free forms versus bound forms. Clitics and affixes collectively refers to as bound forms. Two are similar in that they exhibit prosodic dependence. This means that they cannot by themselves constitute a domain for word stress. They must lean on a prosodic host, password. By contrast, canonical word forms, often called free forms, exhibit prosodic independence. Prosodic dependence words is words that cannot stand alone. Prosodic independence is words that can stand alone. And the next material will explained by Dwita.
Okay, thank you, Ainul, for the chance you give to me. So here I will continue the presentation to discuss about clitics and affixes. Well, the first one is clitics. A clitic is a word or part of a word that is structurally dependent on a neighboring word or its host and cannot stand on its own. Clitics are usually weak forms of functional elements such as auxiliaries, determinants, articles, and pronouns. And affix itself is a word element that can be attached to a base or root to form a new word or new form of the word, usually occurring as either a prefix or suffix. Next, please. Okay, so how to distinguish the difference between clitics and affixes? The first one, the characteristics of clitics are 1. Freedom of host selection. 2. Possible freedom of movement. 3. Less prosodically integrated. 4. May be outside the domain of phonological rule. And 5. Do not trigger or undergo morphophonological or suppletive alternations. 6. Clitic source combinations do not have idiosyncratic meanings. And the last one is do not have arbitrary gaps. And for affixes, the characteristics are no freedom of stem selection, no freedom of movement, more prosodically integrated within the domain of phonological rule, and may trigger or undergo morphophonological or suppletive alternations. Affix-based combinations may have idiosyncratic meanings and might have arbitrary gaps. Next, please. Okay, the next material is lexical integrity. Lexical integrity hypothesis, or LIH. Its rules of syntax can refer or apply to entire words or the properties of entire words, but not to the internal parts of words as or their properties. As a matter of fact, the LIH the LIH is problematic for linguists, which radically differ in accepting or rejecting morphology as a component of grammar different from syntax. Among those formal approaches that accept the lexical integrity hypothesis, the effects are usually seen as falling out from the architecture of the grammatical system, spirit, morphological, and syntactic components.
And then the conclusion of our presentation is word word forms that are intermediate between fully independent word forms and fully dependent affixes are called clitics, and clitics and affixes are grouped together as bound forms. Free forms differ from bound forms in that they are prosodically independent, coeftable, topicalizable, and coordinatable. Clitics differ from affixes in that they have greater freedom of host selection, are phonologically less integrated, do not trigger or undergo phonological alternations, show no idiosyncrasies of meaning or distribution, and may have more freedom and movement. Phrases differ from compounds in that they allow referential dependent members and exhibit less phonological, morphological, and syntactic cohesion. Often, a lexical integrity hypothesis is postulated that forbids synthetic rules to apply to parts of words.
Well, that is all from us for Group 6 presentation about words and phrases. We deeply apologize for any mistakes or shortages we might done in today's presentation. Thank you for the chance you have given to us to still present our performance, man. We hope you have a nice day and thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.